Hey guys, welcome back to chapter 7 in my presentation, and we'll be covering the origins of Christianity in this chapter. So what will we establish? So I'm going to establish that the earliest Christians, the Jew Christians, they were characterized and distinguished from modern day Christianity using 6 specific characteristics. And at the conclusion, I think you'll agree that there's no comparison between who those Jew Christians were and the form of Christianity being practiced by different denominations across the globe today. So let's get started. So this is an article, not an article, this is information that is available through Wikipedia. This is just a brief synopsis on the origins of Christianity. And if you download my presentation that I've provided a Dropbox link in this YouTube video in the information below. Here's the link below in the presentation. So I've touched on a lot of this, but just briefly stated. So early Christians were significantly influenced by the Hellenistic religion. This is nothing new. I touched on this previously. And, the correlation between sun worship, Pontifex Maximus, Sol Invictus, this is nothing new to you. But here, let me go on to this other information regarding the Jew Christians. And again, this is also available in that Wikipedia link. So the Jew Christians were the original members. They were the original members of the Jewish movement that later became so-called Christianity. In the earliest stage, the community was made up of all those Jews who accepted Jesus as the Messiah, right? Modern day Christians do that. So as Christianity grew and developed, Jew Christians became only one strand of the early Christian community. So even back then, there were different denominations, and you'll understand why later on. But I think it should be clear to you by now that the Roman Empire tried to pervert or to commingle the Christian beliefs with their own pagan beliefs. But anyhow, let's keep going. So they were characterized by, number one, they combined the confession of Jesus as the Christ. Christians do that today. Number two, they continued adherence to Jewish traditions such as, number three, Sabbath observance, which we know is on Saturday, not on Sunday, right? Number four, observance of the Jewish calendar. Number five, observance of Jewish laws and customs, circumcision, and synagogue attendance. And number six, and this is in bold, this is really important. This is probably the most important component of the Jew Christians, was that they had a direct genetic relationship to the earliest Jewish Christians. What does that mean? That means they were genetically related, meaning they were related by blood. They were descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is who they were, the early Jew Christians. They weren't converts. The only thing they did differently versus their Jewish brothers and sisters was they accepted Jesus as the Messiah. That was the only difference. They didn't convert. They didn't necessarily convert. Like Christians today, they've converted. Like, for example, I grew up in a Christian family. We're Assyrian Christians. We're from the Assyrian Church of the East. We're converts. We're not Israelites. We're not genetically related by blood. And this isn't just applicable to me as an Assyrian, but all the nations of the world that have followed modern day Christianity, Catholicism, just accepting Jesus as the Messiah. That's just one part of it. You have to be genetically related by blood as an Israelite, which we'll learn in another chapter. But anyhow, just know, for the sake of this chapter, what separated these Jew Christians versus all the other Christians in the world, including today, were these 6 components. And I want to ask you, review these 6 components. Tell me, is there one church, including the church you go to, is there one church that adheres to these 6 components? No, right? So let's move on. Now, in the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 13, this is the inception of the apostolic age. So in verse 13, this is in the New Testament. And when they came in, they went up into an upper room where you would find Peter, James, John, Andrew, Philip, Thomas, Bartholomew, Matthew, James, Simeon, and Judas. So these are the real, true, and original Christians by blood and lineage. This is where it started. And then we'll go on. This is later on in the book of Acts, chapter 11, verse 26. So the disciples were first called Christians where? In Antioch. This is modern-day Turkey. And when he had found him, he brought him onto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. That's it. You won't find the word Christianity in the Bible, but you'll find the word Christians. And this is the first time they were called Christians. And again, this is in the New Testament, the book of Acts, chapter 11, verse 26. They were first called Christians in Antioch, or modern-day Turkey. So what did I really establish in this chapter? The most significant is that the early Jew Christians, they were distinguished by these 6 components, and there isn't one single church that has members, or even their guidelines, their laws, where they follow these very specific components that the Jew Christians did. And the most important, they had a direct genetic relationship to the earliest Jewish Christians in the Bible. So there you have it, guys. That'll do it for this chapter 7 on the origins of Christianity. And I'll see you in the next chapter. Thanks for watching.